Trains, planes, and automobiles, boats, bridges, and buildings. These heavy-duty vehicles and basic infrastructure aren't going anywhere, right? As stable as they seem, metal-based machines and structures are actually far more fragile than most of us would like to think. Corrosion, the silent killer, has plagued our infrastructure since the Iron Age. Today, it's costing us trillions and preventing innovative technology, such as offshore wind turbines, from becoming more widely implemented. I am your host, Mike Lake, and in this preview, I will be talking with Sue Wang about this issue of corrosion and how her company, AnCatt, has it covered.
Innovation, resiliency, discovery. Join Mike Lake, President and CEO of Leading Cities, as we explore the technologies shaping the possibilities of our future with a preview of tomorrow.
Hello and welcome, Sue. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. I also want to thank all of you, our listeners and viewers, for tuning in yet again. Today, I'm really excited to introduce you to Sue Wang. She is the CEO of AnCatt, a company that has developed the world's only high-performance anti-corrosion paint without any toxic heavy metal anti-corrosion pigments. Now, that's a whole lot of mouthful there of terminology that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But Sue, first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an ENTJ, the rarest personality out there, only accounts for 1% population, same personality as Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. And in addition, which is the only communicator within the analytical group. It's a natural leader. And in addition, I'm very talented artist. I'm only one in my class, graduate scholarship for fine arts. So I can tell truth and I can paint with word and brushes or any media, make things fun and exciting.
So you've clearly taken all this talent and focused it on a particular issue. Now, let's be honest. I think for most people, corrosion is not something we think a whole lot about, but we do experience it on a daily basis. So tell us a little bit about what is this problem with corrosion that the world is facing?
Actually, when I go out, I talk with people. Most of people don't know corrosion is a problem because it's so silent.
Yeah.
Silent. Yeah, but the corrosion never sleeps. Only people knows about corrosion are the ones that lives nearby the ocean and the oil and gas companies. When I go to Houston, everyone knows. That's the only place I went. Everyone knows corrosion is a problem.
Huh. And why do you say that?
Because I go anywhere else, people say, I don't know corrosion is a problem. Do we need a better anti-corrosion paint? But at Houston, I talked to the Uber driver. Oh, I just painted something. Then I cross the street, then there's the guy there. Oh, I know anti-corrosion paint. I just used. Everyone uses anti-corrosion paint over there. Corrosion is a problem because it's hot, humid, and the presence of oil and gas industry. Corrosion is #1 enemy for oil and gas industry.
So what, and it's not limited to just that. So what other industries, where do we find corrosion being a major issue?
Actually, metal lifted humanity from Iron Age and even intensified in the modern age. Actually, from a building construction to bridge highways, to automotives, aviation, shipping, pipe, machinery. It's a slow but non-stop process. Corrosion is one of the largest costs of our economy, if it is not the largest cost driver, and it counts to 3 to 5% of every country's GDP, which means it's over $1 trillion a year, direct corrosion cost in the United States.
We talk a lot about water pipes and the infrastructure underneath our cities. Again, that as you point out, is corroding silently. It's out of sight, out of mind, and yet when it leads to a problem like a water main break, and they're happening all the time, corrosion becomes a real inhibitor for our daily lives.
Yes.
So
There,
what is it that we can what is it that we can be doing about this? Why is there a way to stop corrosion?
for us, it's almost stopped it because there's two limitation for anti-corrosion technology. No matter what kind of innovation for anti-corrosion technology, they always use toxic heavy metal, such as chromium, also called Aaron Brockwich chemical, or lead that are led to lead, a fleeing lead water crisis. And another limitation, right now, 85% of the market are using zinc. Zinc is environment compliant because it's only capable to kill fish and marine animals, but it's also inefficient and won't last and cannot protect aluminum, which is a major aviation material. A second limitation is the performance life. Regardless how long it tries, the performance life always remains the same. Up to 5 years in a marine environment, you have scratch off and repainting if you purchase the best paint. A typical, people use regular paint, have repainting every 1 or 2 years.
It's funny you say that. When I lived in Sydney, Australia, I remember being told that the Sydney Harbour Bridge, of course, like all bridges, would have to be repainted. And the process at that time, at least, was by the time they completed painting the bridge, starting at one side, getting all the way to the other, it was time to start all over again. And so it was a constant process.
That's the same case for pretty much all the marine bridges in the world, including the Golden Gate Bridge. They hire 50 people, continue painting the bridge every day.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit more now about AnCatt and what you have created and why it's so different than anything that people might already be using.
Well, this remove toxic heavy metal using anti-corrosion paint, believe or not, is a big research topic after World War II because the toxicity, especially hexavalent and chromium, being named the #1 toxic enemy of U.S. military and aviation industry. Its leakage to the environment are led to the largest legal settlement in U.S. history, featured in the movie Aaron Brockwich. But there's no success. This big research topic involved pretty much all the leading organizations in this field, but there's no success, including like NASA, Penn, DuPont, Dow, BASF. It's just bizarre. Many PhD did their dissertation on this topic, but no one can solve for the past 50 plus years except us. The difference is we use conducting polymer. It's very hard to manipulate. People try to, because it's very difficult to process, we find a unique way to process conducting polymer and make it really small. And I use a different concept. So unique material plus a unique concept then causes the revolution.
Well, so there's obviously the processing piece that what you've just described, and you mentioned that it's free of heavy metal contaminants. Is longer lasting. That's one of the impacts. What else is attractive about this innovative solution?
We just try to solve one problem. Remove toxic heavy metal. Surprised us. Everything else falling in place like miracles after miracles after miracles. First, the coating lasts forever, up to 13,000 hours. Still no rusting and blistering. The laboratory, we're just tired for waiting. It's like tell the corrosion scientist, now human can live 6 times longer. Still no sign of aging.
Wow.
Then that's a miracle. We still don't know when it will fail. So then self-sealing, we don't know. We just like scratch the surface. Typically the rust will span from scratch line. Ours remain the same. I think it just looks pretty. It's a miracle for the industry experts. And another thing is, we just get a pain. We are chemists, we're not corrosion coating experts. We got a formulation based on our research. We think, here's the problem, here's our solution. We just get metal and pin it on. And we did not do surface preparation, cleaning, which is a big deal. People, the industry expert were screaming, there's oil on the surface. We cannot see oil with our naked eyes, but there is oil. Actually, surface preparation accounts to 50% of the repainting cost and time, and a very dangerous process, very toxic process.
And so the material you use requires no preparation?
Well, the surface need to be clean. We haven't tested how it's. I think it's good to be clean, but now special preparation like a sandblasting, special chemicals, dehumidification, no.
Wow. What applications do you see this having? I mean, we talked about bridges, but give us a list of things that this material could be applied to.
Wow, the market is huge, as I probably already mentioned, from building constructions, bridges, highways, automotive. Right now, show the biggest interest is automotives because they want new stuff. And believe not, for certain parts of automotive, corrosion is a big problem, leading cause for recall. And aviation is a big problem. 80% of aviation maintenance cost is because of corrosion. And they use the most toxic material, hexavalent and chromium, to ensure its safety. And shipping. Oh, yeah. I went to cruise, when I leave the cruise ship, then I see so many people hopping on the side of the ship painting. They want to get the painting done before we return. Continue process.
So you mentioned that folks in Houston are familiar with corrosion. I'm here in Boston, and folks here are also familiar with corrosion in the sense that with our harsh winters and road salts, you mentioned the impact on corrosion on vehicles. It's something we experience a lot. But in addition to that, there's a new burgeoning industry in the Northeast in the U.S., as is true in other places, offshore wind. So is there an application for these turbines to protect them from, not only the weather, but obviously they're being built in the ocean?
Actually, the offshore wind turbines are impossible because of the huge corrosion cost. Painting one offshore wind turbine is about same cost as painting a bridge, a large bridge, because the more difficult is pure vertical. I calculate it's about $750 million repainting cost for one wind turbine during its design life of 25 years.
Wow.
So therefore, the energy generated by wind turbine is wiped out by the corrosion required repainting cost. And we can make offshore wind energy possible for the coastal cities worldwide. And we already did the pilot, a 2.5 year pilot, flawless. They are very excited.
Where was that?
It was, we just received our final report in November last year.
And where was the pilot?
Where was the pilot? On the North Sea.
Okay.
And the biggest problem for North Sea is survive the ice drag, because the ice will form on the surface of the coating and drag the coating down layer by layer. And we survived that. That's a big challenge.
Wow. Well, congratulations on the success of that pilot.
Yeah, we're very excited.
So now let's project into the future. A question I always like to ask folks in every episode, thinking 10, 20, 30, 50 years down the road, and assuming that your anti-corrosion paint is being applied in every application you can think of. What are the big ticket benefits, let's say?
It's huge. I say we'll lift humanity from current iron age to a brand new sustainable iron age and solve the greatest problems facing humanity today, such as defeat the #1 toxic enemy of US military and aviation industry, solve enormous waste problem. Corrosion led to account to 3 to 5% of countries' GDP. Stop global warming meant the $15 trillion infrastructure budget gap.
That budget gap is no small challenge. We see that being a problem for so many infrastructure projects. Well, listen, Sue, it's amazing to me how quickly this has gone, but I'm so grateful for you taking the time to join us here on Preview of Tomorrow. It was a pleasure to have you, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's my pleasure to speaking with you guys about the amazing next generation heavy metal-free, longer-lasting, self-sealing anti-corrosion paint product. I named it Rust Legend, the legendary anti-corrosion performance that will bring humanity to the next era of unprecedented sustainability and the performance. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. Listeners like you are essential to advancing our efforts to drive resiliency and sustainability for all. I ask that you give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or whichever streaming platform you prefer. Your feedback helps us to grow and share these brief previews of what life in the future can be. In addition to thanking our guests today, I want to thank Peter Roy and Demetria Bridges for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and encourage others to also join us each week in previewing the possibilities of tomorrow.
Preview of Tomorrow is brought to you by Leading Cities, a global nonprofit driving resilience and sustainability for all by unleashing the potential of the world's cities. Join them at leadingcities.org.